Hello and welcome to MINYIP Fantasy Sports Community. My name is Blake and I'm joined by Clinton. How are you, Clinton?
Great, Blake. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Looking forward to game week 4 after a break. It's been a long couple of week and a half, so yeah, looking forward to game week 4. What did you do over the last weekend with no soccer on?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Watching the start of the seasons, you always look forward to the start of the season, get 3 game weeks in, and then all of a sudden there's a weekend off, and you really it's quite demoralising when there's no weekend without the soccer. So it's been a busy last couple of days in my household. My daughter was 4 yesterday, and my son's 2 tomorrow. So hasn't been quiet, that's for sure. But looking forward to the soccer back on this weekend.
Yeah, happy birthday to the young ones when they watch this video. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure they enjoy the FPL content. We're now on Instagram as well, so if you want to check us out on Instagram, you'll be able to find us under MINYIP Fantasy Sports Community. So you can check us out there as well as checking us out on our Twitter handles, which is beside us there. So yeah, start following us on there and subscribe to us on YouTube, where you'll get pretty much all of our content at the moment. Let's go through the results quickly from last game week. It's been a while since these games have been played, so we'll just go through them quickly. Arsenal got destroyed by Man City. How'd you find that game, Clint?
It was a great way to start the game week, Blake. Yeah, really. Well, in saying that, my 3 Man City players who all returned, so in that regard, it was a great start.
Yeah, it's a good time to be an Arsenal supporter such as yourself, so that's good. Villa had a draw with Brentford, which we both didn't see happening. Tony scored a goal after we both got rid of him, so that was good. Everton beat Brighton 2-0. Newcastle Southampton was a draw 2-2. Norwich won 2v Leicester, where my man Vardy scored a goal and assist as my captain. West Ham vs Crystal Palace was 2-2. Liverpool Chelsea 1-1 in an interesting game after a red card just before half-time, and then Chelsea managed to somehow hold on and keep it to a draw, even with the man down. Burnley Leeds 1-1, Spurs 1-0 versus Watford, and Man United beat Wolves 1-0. Any games you want to touch on there, Clint?
Not really, but I think it's worth mentioning just the Liverpool Chelsea and how great that was to watch, and how we fully expect them to be the 2 of the best teams this year. And Chelsea were super impressive the second half, considering the red card. So yeah, some good scores there. Obviously, if you're looking there, wasn't many big scores besides City, so it's doesn't really. We're starting to learn more about some FPL players, but from those results, obviously not the highest of scoring of game week. So after the international break now, we'll be potentially seeing some higher scores.
Yeah, the Chelsea manager got things right, taking off my man Havertz at half-time and just getting an extra defender on the pitch, and yeah, managed to keep it to a 1-1 draw. The top scorers for game week 3, Torres scored a couple of goals for Man City, got 18 points. Gallagher got 2 goals, 15 points for him in only 1% of teams. Vardy, as I mentioned, was my captain, scored 12 in 13.3% of teams. Jesus 12, and the Man United defender scored 12 as well. Are you looking at Torres there, Clint?
Most definitely, and I think it's the way City have structured up. Yeah, I think it's really enticing, and Jesus also has become more settled in his position as well. A bit of a change of role there as well. So the challenging part now is post these international breaks is now the fact that they'll be playing Champions League football as soon as next week, as well as Europa League. So there's going to be some teams who are doubling up their fixtures or games throughout the week. So rotation now is going to start happening, and these players like Torres are the ones that you could be potentially seeing rested for these other games. So it's all interesting, makes it exciting for the FPL managers out there.
How long till the Champions League fixtures start rolling in?
Middle of next week. So that's potential, like the likes of Lukaku and even Ronaldo, like as big as this weekend may be, who knows how they'll be starting to look after players for the Champions League as soon as next week. So,
And which clubs are in that?
Which clubs are in the Champions League? Pretty much the top 4 or 5 teams. And then there's a handful of teams in the Europa League as well. So, yeah, rotation is upon us now. So now it's the joys of selecting our teams and realising that they may be benched sometimes.
Yeah, I saw KDB and Foden as well were back in training. So when they're back playing, they're definitely rotation risk for Torres. Yeah, but he is at a good price at 7.1. Gallagher is another cheap option, 5.5. Looks pretty dangerous and got 2 goals. So he'll be an option for a few teams if you're looking for a cheap player. And Vardy, what a player.
Well done, Blake. That's a good hold.
Thank you. And I'll discuss him later on. Bruno. It was interesting by both of us not selecting him at the start of the season. And after game week 1, we're both regretting it. But last 2 weeks he is blanked and he is topping out low scorers for the game week 3, only scoring 2 points in 47.6% of teams. If this is your first time watching, these are the players that are highly selected who blanked for game week 3. Ben Rama, who has been brought in for a lot of sides, only scored 2 points. The 2 big keepers in Sanchez and Martinez have both scored 2, getting scored against, and Tsimikas for Liverpool and scored 1 point, playing limited minutes. I know a lot of people did get it on him in the first 3 rounds, but probably time to get off him with Robertson taking his position on the field.
I think it's probably worthwhile mentioning, Blake. If you had asked me a month ago, I knew that Ronaldo was coming to Manchester United, which is why I didn't choose Fernandes. So that was the reason I didn't choose him. So it's from game week 1 where he scored a hat-trick. It's fair to say his selected teams percentage will only continue to decrease in the next few game weeks. And it's going to be fascinating to see whether or not he's on penalties, but highly unlikely that he will be. So expect he'll be the most sold player the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I believe he's already dropped about 7%. So, expected that to keep going down. And we'll discuss that further in the transfers in and out coming up shortly in the show. My team for game week 3 scored 71 points, which was relief considering what happened the first 2 game weeks. My overall ranking's about 3.6 million now, reduced by about 1.2 million. So it was a good week, but I still got a lot of work ahead. Vardy captain, Calvert-Lewin up front, scoring 9 points as well, getting 3 bonus points after a goal, but then went off with a muscle injury. So it'll be interesting to see how he pulls up and if he plays this week. So hopefully comes through. Havertz scored an amazing header in the first half for Chelsea to put them in the lead. Did you see that goal, Clint?
Very impressive goal. Yeah, It's just unfortunate circumstances with the red card, which is why he got subbed off. But he's going to be a player I'll be monitoring the next couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, I selected him from the start. After the first game week where he blanked, I got a bit concerned, but he's such a class player and he looked dangerous in every game he's played so far. Salah scored 10 points. The biggest disappointing thing for me for the weekend was, for some reason, I put on the field Livramento instead of St. Maximum. I made a last-second decision that I thought Southampton would keep Newcastle to a clean sheet. And St. Maximum had a flag on him to start the game as well. They said that he had a foot injury or something, and he ended up playing every minute of the game and scored with about 5 minutes to go. So that was good. I'll hopefully learn from next time, but we'll see how we go.
I think we'll just touch on that, Blake. I think even if that's the case, if you're going to bench, I know you sort of did in that regard. That was Southampton versus Newcastle. But I think having Dallas on field as well and Livramento on as his starting 11, I think potentially if you are going to do that, I'd try to sell St. Maxim for a cheaper player than put more money into a better one of those players. But I think that team, as I said to you, I think going into that game week, it was a solid team and he scored well.
Yeah, the main reason why I benched you was just because of that injury, which I was concerned about, and then playing limited minutes. And I was also happy he selected Backman on field ahead of Sanchez, which scored me an extra 2 points. He had a lot of saves, Backman, against Tottenham, so it was good. Leeds have been a bit disappointing for me early, considering I've got two of their players in Ailey and Dallas, but they've got good fixtures coming up. So after playing Liverpool this week, so hopefully they'll be able to turn it around with their better fixtures coming up. And yeah, so we'll go across to your team now. And do you want to talk through your team there, Clint? 45 points.
Well, it was a debacle, really. I think having started slowly game week 1 and then game week 2 had a really good score, I was prepping myself for the wild card now, which is obviously happening, which is spoiler alert, but yes, I'm on wild card. So I decided to really attack this game week. And obviously the big decision for me was I took out Mo Salah and Tony, who they both scored, and scored a total of 16 points between them. And I replaced them with Rafinha and Kane. And similar to the Ronaldo situation going to this week, I think everyone just expects that Ronaldo will play and score. That's the feeling I had for Kane last week. I just saw it that he was definitely going to start. The crowd were going to support him, even despite he was going to leave. And I just saw him scoring. So I was tossing up a few different things and I went that way, but obviously it didn't pay off. And yeah, I got punished with Salah scoring that penalty. So as I said, I started well with a few of the Man City boys there. And besides that, even captaincy-wise, if I had have kept Salah and Tony, I would have copied the crowd and went Antonio captain. So I just was a complete, as I said, debacle. So in hindsight, potentially Barnes and Mahrez were the two that I wanted to potentially get rid of if I was going to play safe. But that's the way it's panned out. I actually calculated, which you shouldn't do, but I calculated that if I had have played it smart and got rid of Mahrez and Barnes and somehow decided Green was one I was eyeing off a lot, but I thought, nah, a lot of people have him now and I'll play it risky and attack with Kane. So if I had have somehow decided to get Greenwood and Torres, which is obviously unlikely, but that was a 42-point score difference if I somehow decided that those two changes. So you win some, you lose some. I don't regret it because I decided to attack the game week and didn't pay off, but it is what it is. And now I'm with the mindset of a wild card, I can sort of wipe the slate clean and attack this game week with the wild card. So yeah, I was happy with how the team looked going into that game week. It just didn't quite come off for me. So hopefully I can just put that behind me and I can score better with my wildcard team.
I won't ask you too many questions about this team, considering you have wildcarded. But what are your thoughts on Rafinha going forward?
There's different reports. Obviously, first thing that Leeds have a lot of great fixtures coming up. There's other rumours that he may be leaving in January. And there's the other part to it is they just acquired, who they acquire again? They got James from Manchester United. So how they'll structure up now is going to be interesting because potentially he might even have a more attacking role there in their number 10. So he's one to watch for sure. And he's not going to be in my wildcard team. But if I see good signs over the next couple of game weeks, he'll be back in there because he's so cheap. Leeds are normally a really attacking team and he's a really pivotal player for him. So there's a lot of ifs. So I'm just waiting to see on him.
Yeah. we'll go across to our league. Our league code's on the screen there, so SDA7P6. Scott is absolutely flying at the top of our leaderboard. We've got 43 people in our league now. He's in the top couple of hundred in Australia. He's absolutely flying. Scored the same as me for the round, but yeah, he asked us a question on Twitter about how to improve his team.
Don't ask us.
There's not too much we can help you with there, Scotty. Yeah, you had Ben Rama and Antonio from the start, who have been pretty much the best scorers, and yeah, pretty much we'll leave it up to you, mate. Hope it keeps paying off for you, because yeah, we're not going to probably help you improve your ranking considering where I'm sitting at the moment. Our top scorer for the round was Thomas, scored 86 points, who was a mate of Scott. So I don't know if you gave him some tips there, but well done, Thomas. Big score there. Hopefully you can catch Scott soon. We've got Dan in 5th, Marwin in 4th, Brent in 3rd, and Yasir in 2nd. So yeah, hit us up on Twitter and start commenting on our posts, because we'd like to chat about how you've structured your team and what you're going to do going forward, because I'd love some advice. And we will start discussing what's going to happen in game week 4. We'll talk about the transfers first. So most transferred out player we already talked about, Bruno Fernandes, been transferred out already by 714,000 managers. This was as of couple of hours ago on Wednesday night in Australia, so it'll probably keep going up over the week until the game week 4 starts. Ings, second most transferred out. Martinez, who isn't going to be playing after going away on international break and unable to play due to COVID regulations. Simicast, as we've mentioned, and surprisingly Shaw's currently sitting at 5th as the most transferred out player. I personally wouldn't be doing that if I had him, considering I think he'll be an attacking threat with the addition of Ronaldo. But yeah, after we both didn't select Bruno and Shaw in game week 1, where a lot of managers did, so that's one of the ones that's paid off for us so far, is not having Shaw.
I definitely think, though, with the man on screen, Ronaldo, coming into the United team, I think they will actually change the way they attack. They're obviously a really well-classed team across the pitch and have played a certain way the last year or so. But I think now with Ronaldo, the way that he's playing now at his age, they'll be actually changing the way they play. And if there's one person who's going to be even more dangerous, it's Shaw, because I think Ronaldo's the most lethal header of the ball in the world. As one of his biggest strengths, as one of the best players in the world. So I think there's one player to send those crosses in for him, it's going to be Shaw. So despite us not having him in our teams, and even though I'm on wildcard this week, I still want to just maybe see it for a couple of weeks to see if that does happen, and then I'll be probably scrambling to get Shaw in, because he's one to watch.
Yeah, I suspect he's going to be on both our watch lists going forward. Ronaldo is been transferred in by 1.2 million managers. Within the first couple of hours, he was transferred in by over 200,000 managers within the news of him just going across to Man United. Torres, as we've mentioned, he was a game week 3 top scorer. He's been transferred in by 700,000, but yeah, we've discussed his rotation risk going forward. Antonio, 650,000. Gray for Everton, 470,000, and Ben Rama still being transferred in by a lot of managers, even after he did blank in game week 3. Did you see? Yeah, you go.
I think it's worth mentioning that those numbers that you see on screen aren't including wildcards. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So there's a lot of people on wildcard, and those numbers won't be factored into those transfers. So you can only imagine the amount of more people who are transferring in Ronaldo and probably transferring out Fernandes. So the whole numbers of percentage owned players. They'll all be changing so much once the game week starts. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds, because Ronaldo has just completely changed the game.
Besides Ronaldo coming into the game, Clinton, do you want to just quickly explain the main reason why it's a good idea to wildcard on a international break?
Well, the biggest factor is it's 2 weeks between the games, and I think there's a lot of people that, whilst these transfers are happening and there's a lot of price changes, you can use the wild card to attack those price changes, and then team value, as you can imagine, is quite important once the season goes on and on. So I'm doing it, and I don't think it's going to be a massive difference because of the fact that Ronaldo's price is locked. There is some players like Torres and Antonio who are going up in price, but it's all just a little bit. So it's not it is a factor, but for me, it's probably just the priority of I had the mindset of doing it, and I wanted to get in the likes of Ronaldo and Lukaku. So I did want to restructure my team up. So that was my main reason, not necessarily the price changes, but there is benefits of doing it throughout that time, because I'll no doubt, hopefully, have a higher team value than most using the wildcard over this international break.
Yeah, I'm planning on using mine in November in the third international break. The idea of that is, bring in players who are going to go up in price at the start of your wildcard as soon as you hit it, and then you change your team to how you want it just before the game week starts. Did you see much of Gray's game at all, Clinton, for Everton?
I didn't, but obviously there's a lot of good reports coming out of his play, and obviously his link up with DCL. So he's one that's definitely on my radar. He's nice and cheap. So the likes of, as you can see, the Torres, Gray, and Benrahma, and there's probably a couple other names you can add onto that list of mid-priced or cheaper midfielders. It's you can't squeeze them all in. So, but Gray is certainly one that's getting a lot of attention. He's playing well, so he's one to think about for sure.
Yeah, that's a good segue into our watch list. So the keepers we've got our eye on at the moment. We're both watching Raya for Brentford, 4.5 option. He's probably the pick of the 4.5 options at the moment. Getting a lot of saves, and Brentford's defence is holding up. I'm still watching Tottenham's goalkeeper. They're keeping clean sheets. But he is priced quite highly, and I like my 4.5 options at the moment. And you're watching Mendy. Do you want to explain that one?
Well, I'm just eyeing off what potential goalkeeper I want to have for a long time. I've gone with a different option, but there's potential of me in a few weeks if I'm eyeing off some Chelsea players, and I sort of weigh up how I really want to attack the Chelsea good fixtures potentially. I don't really want to make a goalkeeper transfer, but he's one that potentially, if I go down that path, he'd be the one I choose. And
you've got your eye on Reece James to Chelsea as well? He's not playing this week, is he?
Yeah, he's not playing this week, but I've gone a different avenue down back for Chelsea. But he's one that he's a younger player who's coming on, and I think he's potentially starting to really solidify his team in the best 11. So the question will be with rotation, but I think he can be a really attacking player for them. I see them as the best defense in the league now, as well as Man City. So I really want to attack those players, and I think he can get points from both ends of the pitch.
And you've got Diaz on your watch list, so I'm guessing he's not currently in your wildcarded team, as he was in your game team.
Yeah, no. So I haven't included him, but I've been weighing up between him or Cancelo. So I've gone the Cancelo way at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised next 48 hours if I actually change it across. But I think he's just a great player, and as I said, Man City and Chelsea are the best defenses in the league, and he's one that I want, but just whether or not I can squeeze him in, or the 50-50 between him and Cancelo. You've gone some cheaper players you're watching? Can you explain there?
Yeah, Ahmad is just been sitting there on my watch list. I want to see how Leicester keep going forward defensively. I think they've got a few players back now, and they've recruited one in. So I still just want to see how Leicester's defence going forward if he keeps getting minutes. And I'm watching Wolves' defence at the moment. They've got good fixtures coming up, and yeah, I just want to see how they structure up. They've got Cody, they've got Kilman, and the other player who's just escaped my mind at the moment.
Marcel?
Semedo?
Semedo, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see how they structure up over the next 1 or 2 game weeks, and are we eyeing off Wolves' defence going forward? Because they've got great fixtures, and I think they're playing a quite defensive game at the moment, just trying to feed the ball out to Traore to run forward with it and play defensive for the rest of the game. We've already talked about Shaw, and Reguilon has been on our watch list since pretty much game week 1. Like I mentioned, Tottenham's defences just keep getting the job done. So guessing that's why you've got your eye on him, Clinton?
I'm still not sure if I can trust him yet. So that's why I'm watching him especially, because if I do go to Tottenham, he'll be the one. But I still don't know if I can trust him. So it might take 5 or 6 clean sheets in a row for me to actually go to Tottenham and Reguilon. So yeah, it's just I'm still just watching, but not putting complete faith in them.
Yeah, my boys Tottenham. They're playing quite defensively at the moment, which is quite interesting in comparison to the way they were playing last year with Son and Kane on the attacking front. You've got Kane on your watch list, so he is gone out of your side. What do you expect from Kane going forward?
Well, it's just the fact that it's been unsettling last few months, and obviously I backed it last weekend, but I'm not with the other options. He's obviously made way for me, but I'm just seeing how that transpires the next little while. And he's someone that potentially, if there's an injury to one of my other big hitters, I can, if he's in form, I'll slow him straight back in there. So he's someone who has a record that is almost unparalleled with how many just goals he continues to score. But at the moment, he's made way.
Yeah, Son's picked up a calf injury, which will see him out for at least a few weeks. How do you think that'll impact him?
Well, it's one of those things, though, you can't trust that information. It's
really?
Throughout these international breaks, this is not uncommon. So I would not be surprised whatsoever. It's very minor, and Son just plays and he's 100% fine. So there's always these injuries that happen, and it's almost like they want to be looking after themselves and get back fresh for the Premier League. So it does happen all the time, and who knows if the Lukaku news is pretty much the same. So it's a bit of a wait and see, and I expect Son to play, and who knows how Tottenham will play as a result.
No, Tottenham are very reliable people. You just got to take them on their word.
Okay.
On your watch list in the midfield, you've got Salah, Fernandes, Grealish, Havertz. I've got Salah and Havertz. Fernandes we've already talked about. Surprised to see Salah on your midfield watch list there, Clinton.
You'll find out that reason soon, Blake, because we'll discuss that shortly. But he's someone I'm watching, and just adding on the fact that with Man City. Obviously how they're structuring up, and Grealish is obviously still finding his feet there. So he's one, if he finds form, I'll be probably getting him.
On my watch list in the midfield, I've got some cheap options because I need to find a way to afford Ronaldo. So Canos has still just been sitting there after his game week 1 big score. So he's just ticking away there. Canos for Brentford, Bissouma for Brighton, and Jota for Liverpool. If Jimenez is out for a few weeks, this makes him even more appealing option. And I think you'll have some points to talk about him in a moment. Mount I'm considering as an option if I need to generate more cash. Potentially I might go Havertz down to Mount just if I need to, but I don't think I'll go two Chelsea midfielders. But that's pretty much the only reason I'd get him. Rafinha's on my watch list. As we already mentioned, Leeds have got good fixtures going forward, but we just want to see how his role is going to develop. Traore's had a lot of shots on goal, but not very accurate. He's had plenty of opportunities, so he's on my watch list for that reason. He's great to watch. He's got great speed. He looks like he hits the gym hard. And we've both got Torres on our watch list as well.
No, he's not on my watch list.
Not on yours. All right.
And
okay.
you'll find out why in a second too.
Okay. You've also got Calvert-Lewin on your watch list.
Yeah, he's someone that I want, but I can't squeeze him in because of the other three that I've got in there currently. So depends on how things go the next few weeks. But if I am going to downgrade from one of my big hitters up front, they're the three that I'm watching, and especially the fact that Leeds do have good fixtures, as mentioned. Calvert-Lewin's now on penalties at Everton, so speaking about injuries, obviously the big question mark with him is his couple of different injuries that he's had the last couple of weeks. But if he's fit and Everton continue to feed him the ball, I think he's one that can be that next option, because I think most people will be going Antonio, then either Ronaldo or Lukaku, and then a third option. So I think he'll be the one that will be that third option if he stays fit.
Yeah, my plan at this current stage is to switch Calvert-Lewin to Ronaldo game week 7 when they play against each other. Just because Calvert-Lewin does have good fixtures coming forward for the next 2 game weeks, and potentially even a captain option if he does play. It's just a matter of if he's fit for me. And Ings was on my watch list, but he's probably gone off it for the moment, considering how tough of a run they've got going forward. Antonio, not having him for the last 3 game weeks is destroying me, but at this current stage, I can't make way for him with the plans to get Ronaldo in. So that I just want to see that for a couple of weeks, see how that all shapes up. And you've
see the pain.
Yeah, I could be crying on next week's show, so I look forward to seeing that. Our predictions for this coming game week to kick off Saturday night, we've got Crystal Palace versus Spurs. Hopefully my boys can get the job done. I've got them in a 1-0 win against Palace. They are away. I expect a low-scoring game, and so have you. We both the whole way down don't have many high-scoring games. I expect them to be all pretty close. We've both got Arsenal, Norwich to have a 1-1 draw, Brentford, Brighton 1-1 draw. We've both got Man City to beat Leicester 2-0. And by the way, we in no way communicated about how we were going to predict this. I did mine, and then I asked you for yours. And it turns out we've selected exactly the same score for 5 of the games. So I think...
Who would have thought that as recent as 2 or 3 weeks ago, or even a few months ago, that Arsenal and Norwich, we'd be predicting 1-1. It's just that's the state of affairs there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Norwich score first. Just imagine the uproar of the Arsenal fans if that does occur. So
probably just about storming the pitch.
I can see it being low scoring, and I wouldn't be surprised with something like that. But it's just amazing times at that club, and it's just there's some low scores predicted there, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some players who are fresh after a couple of weeks off, and the crowds are still pumping, that will actually see some more scores than we're predicting. But I'm looking forward to a weekend of soccer again.
Yeah, just to talk about Arsenal for a little bit longer. They they're the oldest team in the league that haven't been relegated. They haven't been relegated from the top division since 1912. So I look forward to seeing what happens in the future with Arsenal.
Tough times.
Yeah, we've pretty much got the same scores across the board for our predictions. We both have got Chelsea to beat Aston Villa 3-0, Liverpool to beat Leeds, but to still concede a goal. I think that's just, I've got that because Leeds are such an attacking side. And I expect that to probably be the highest scoring game of the game week, just about, just because I expect both sides to play attacking football. And yeah, we've both got Man United to beat Newcastle. That could hurt me I've got no Man United assets in this current game week. So yeah, this could be an interesting week. So as I mentioned, no Man United assets. My only change from my last game week is I saved my money from my last transfers from last game week, and I swapped my captain Vardy to captain Lukaku. So
after serving you so well.
Yeah, he scored me some big points, and then it was time to go for Mr. Vardy.
Can I just ask, Blake, have you actually made the transfer yet?
I sure have.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that Lukaku, with his, with that slight injury doubt, what I would suggest is making sure that, I'm not sure when he made the transfer, but you just never know. Like, I'm sure if we get the weekend, if Lukaku somehow is like, they say he's not actually playing, I could just imagine the devastation on you.
Yeah, that would hurt a bit. But I had the exact money to go Vardy to Lukaku. And at that current stage, Lukaku was predicted to go up in price. He was sitting at a 95% chance to go up, and that was just after the last game week finished. So I had to make it. Otherwise, I would have had to make another transfer to get him in. So I had to do it early. Well, that was my thinking.
What's interesting is his price hasn't gone up, and then with his injury news, there's actually a chance he might go down in price. But it's one of those ones that I'm predicting he'll be fine, and I think he's a great player to have over the next couple of months. So even if it doesn't pay off this week, which I'm sure it will, but he's a great selection.
Yeah, he's going to be very dangerous going forward. And I might still make a few changes off my bench here. I think I'm going to field White, who's for Arsenal, who's playing against Norwich, and potentially he might be back from illness. I'm going to put him on the field instead of Ayling. I'm going to probably put St. Maximin as my first emergency, who's playing against Man United. With an injury risk to Wilson, I think they could play through St. Maximin even more. So he's going to potentially be my first emergency, if not take the field for Livermento, who Livermento's got to play against West Ham. So
I'd do that 100%. I'd St. Maximin on, Livermento on the bench without second guessing for a split second. But that's just me. That's just me.
I'll see how I go. It'll be a last second decision, and it'll backfire either way I go. So that'll be good. Yep. And yeah, pretty much there's not going to be too many changes. I don't plan on making any more transfers unless something drastic happens where one of my players is announced that they're not going to play. Backman and Sanchez have got a good rotation going. I've planned it this way so that with their fixtures, they line up to take the field when they got an easier fixture. So that's how I'm gonna look going into game week 4?
It's going to be really interesting, Blake, that over the next few game weeks, how the scores differentiate between people who have wildcard, like myself, and the likes of you who haven't, and seeing how your scores can be compared to those who are wildcarding, because the likes of Ronaldo and those players who have been all the hype the last couple of weeks who we haven't necessarily jumped on, it's going to be interesting to see how your team can potentially, stick with those teams who are wildcarding. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm planning on bringing him in game week 7. Just hopefully doesn't hurt me in the next 3 weeks. He very well could. He could come out this week and fire and score a double, or not play very much at all, which I'm in a way hoping for. But I'm still excited to, even though I don't have him in my team, I'm still just excited to watch him play in the league. I honestly haven't seen much of him play before, besides the Champions League. I didn't watch pretty much many of his games at all last year, so I'm excited to watch him in the EPL. And here is your team after wildcarding.
Yeah, so let's start with down back. So, as you've said with Wolves, I've decided to go with their goalkeeper, Salah. He's 5 million. The easy way is what people do is just spend it on a 4.5. But I think Wolves, there's some other defenders that I'd be keen on. So I've decided to go with the Wolves goalie, and I've got the 4 million steer on the bench who is potentially starting instead of Martinez for Aston Villa. So he's just someone who can sit there and potentially play when Martinez doesn't. As I said, Cancelo, he's one who I'm potentially going to swap with Diaz, but they're the two that I'm tossing up between, because I like Man City and their rock solid defense. It's just with rotation, it's probably Diaz is a safer pick, but Cancelo does have the potential to score more. Trent stays. I think he's one who will stay potentially all year. Chelsea are defense, as I said, a defense that I want to get in on, and Christensen started the first 3 game weeks. The question will be how they rotate over Champions League, etc. And the way that he's played, he's performed well. So for now, at his price, he's really cheap to get in on the Chelsea defense. Looking at my midfield there, I've got a lot of the mid-priced quality players, if you like. I think it's worth addressing now. I don't have Mo Salah, so the reason behind it is I wanted to get Ronaldo, Lukaku, and Antonio in on my team, and if that's the case, ultimately it could change the next 48 hours if there's news on Lukaku, or if there's any whispers that Ronaldo won't start. I won't go that way, and I'll change one of them out for Salah. But the way that I've done it, as you can imagine, I've done about 50 drafts of my team. And if I have Salah in and the front 3 that I've got there, pretty much the rest of my defense and a couple of my midfield spots are all cheaper players. Now, if I weigh it all up, potentially the only way I get burnt is, well, for one, I don't want Fernandez, I don't want Son. So Salah is the one player I'm really worried about, and even if he gets a goal and scores potentially 10 points, the idea of my team is the fact that the likes of the stronger players who are in my team can make up for those points. So it's not recommended. I think obviously Salah is one of the best players to have in FPL for a reason, because he scores a lot. But he's the one I'm risking to have a more balanced and better team. And the easy thing to do is, not have Ronaldo and Lukaku and just have one of them. But they're 2 players I just want. And Salah's the one that Liverpool, they're a good team. And Jota, and with Firmino is the one I think you mentioned before. Firmino, with his injury, Jota is the one will be starting up front for them over the next few game weeks. So in the event that Salah scores, who knows? Jota could be the assister, but I've got a piece of that Liverpool attack in Jota, and then the likes of Torres, who we've mentioned, Benrahma and Greenwood, who I wasn't sure if I wanted Greenwood, but I decided with the way United have structured up, I think he's going to continue to be in the spots and attacking. And he's one that could easily be out of my team in a couple of weeks if things change up a bit. So I've got a bit of a risky midfield, and all three of Torres, Jota, and Greenwood in about 3 game weeks could be ones to watch and who could be potentially going out. But in the short term, I'm pretty confident that they'll all score well. And I'm just happy with how the team looks as a whole. So don't forget, like, the idea is to keep this for a long time, but I do have transfers in the next few weeks, and things could flip around quite easily. So in saying all that, as I said, over the next 48 hours, there could be a couple of changes if there's injury news. So that's the beauty of the wildcard, is it can be used right up until the first game. And obviously, as I said, Lukaku is one I'm watching for injury news. Otherwise, it's looking pretty much the way I want to structure up. Livramento and Williams are my cheap defenders, and Sissoko, who just went to Watford from Tottenham, is a cheap player who is likely to play every week for Watford, and he actually had a couple of shots there versus Tottenham and looked dangerous. So that's the team, Blake. Go for your life. What do you think?
I like what you've done with the big 3 up front, but just looking at the moment, I personally, I think it's a risky midfield option. I don't expect Greenwood to play full minutes anymore, and his role to be completely different to what it did in the first 3 game weeks, especially with Ronaldo and potentially Rashford coming back soon. Like you said, you've got the transfers there, so if his role has changed completely, you can move him on pretty quick. My biggest concern for you would be if, with the rotation risk for Torres and Christensen, they have performed well so far. It's just a matter of if they keep taking the starting each game week, because he'll be pretty bare if, God forbid, 3 of them don't take the field to start, like Christensen, Torres, and Greenwood game week 4.
Which is why I'm probably, although I've got Cancelo there, I probably will change back to Diaz, because he's more of a solid option. I don't want as 3 players missing, but for now, Christensen seems on, so I'll stick with that while it's there. And I feel the same with Greenwood. I think he'll go out until there's Rashford is fully fit, and he's still a few weeks away from that, apparently. So Torres, it all depends on how these Champions League fixtures, how teams rotate. So it is slightly risky. I understand that, and I think Salah, if you look at the team itself, I think Salah is, for me, the big out. And if Jota can somehow compensate or score well himself, and I can spread the funds, hopefully I've got a leg up on the other managers, because I've spread out my funds a bit more. And if Salah, as I said, scores 10, if I can have an even spread of points, then I'm not disappointed. But if Salah scores a hat-trick and a few of my other players score lowly, then that's when it's really going to hurt me. But it's a risk I'm probably I'm taking. And Ronaldo, I just want. Lukaku, with his fixtures coming up, I just want. So someone had to be sacrificed, and that's the way I've sort of gone with for now. So it's going to be interesting.
Could Chilwell impact upon Christensen?
No. So Christensen's more of a central defender. I think Alonso is the one that's played in Chilwell's spot, and it's going to be. It's been surprising to this point that Alonso's played all 3 of the first game week. So with the Champions League, that's why I didn't want to go anywhere near Alonso. James is the one I probably would have wanted, but he's a bit more expensive. So, yeah, in a couple of, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of those changes being mixed around. But for now, I'm pretty happy with how that looks. And yeah, what will depend if there's any news about Lukaku. And but here's the main one for me.
Yeah, good luck, Clinton.
Thank you, Blake.
I'm definitely looking forward to this game week after you've wildcarded.
Yeah.
We both could either be in tears next week or be very happy. So it'll be very interesting. That'll just do us for this evening. Like always, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Hit us up on our new Instagram page. Get involved on our Twitter handles. I post the questions there each week and talk about FPL quite regularly. And in the future, we'll be talking about other fantasy sports coming up as well. I'm already in a few Big Bash league chats, and teams are starting to get finalised for that. So hopefully we'll have some shows coming up for that shortly. But yeah, anything else you want to add there, Clint?
No, that's all for me, mate. Enjoy the games. Good luck with your team, and I'm looking forward to watching Ronaldo score a hat-trick and prove that any doubters who don't have him wrong, and for that matter, Lukaku as well. I just really, now that I've gone big on those two boys, I want them to perform for me.
Lukaku would be good. Thanks, mate. See you next time.
See you, mate. Bye.